Fuck me, bro. Anyway, as I was saying, I was having a lot of issues, but I figured it out. Hello, Bubble, thank you for the raid, woo woo, from the Butterfly Koi of V4Mirai 5th generation AURARAIN. My name's Serina Maiko, charmed, and I am all over the place, you know? I wanted to have glasses, I can't find them. Like I said, this is a new computer. There's a lot going on, but you know what? It wouldn't be me if I wasn't late to the very first class. It sucks because I actually did check to make sure I wasn't muted. Let me turn my BGM down, it's really loud. I actually did check to make sure that I wasn't muted in OBS, but I was muted on my hardware because I have a freaking XLR. But that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. We brought it back. As you can see, today's presentation is a very special one. Wait, let me fix the chat so it's a little bit closer. There we go. Then I'll bring it, there we go. Okay. Whew, I had to really dig to find this like classroom asset because like I said, I got a new computer and everything is not where it should be. But you know what? I found it. That's all that matters. I couldn't find my glasses though, so I can't really get entirely immersed. But you know what? I will, do I seem more, do I seem more qualified with my hair up or less? Because I think if I take the cloak off, makes me look less teacher-esque, although it does not block my desk here, but I like the cloak on more. More? You think so? Okay, okay. Then, no, I must have it somewhere. I just don't know what folder it's in. Hold on. Also, I don't know if you guys heard me talking about it earlier, but for whatever reason, I can't go live on Twitch anymore. Let me try. Yeah, it just keeps saying error, failed to connect to stream. So I guess this is just the YouTube stream. I think it's fine. I think the majority of my audience is on YouTube anyway, since that was my main platform for so long. But I do wanna do more Twitch stuff, essentially, especially with like rhythm games and stuff, since I can't do rhythm games on YouTube. So yeah, I don't know why it's just not letting me go live on Twitch, and I don't feel like taking more time to figure this out. Let me see. Oh, no, I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's because I updated my password to my account, but I shouldn't need the login to the account to stream because I'm doing it via stream key. So I don't know, but I can't go live on Twitch just yet. That's fine. I will definitely figure that out before my Twitch stream on Sunday, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for Yaoi. Maybe your account got hacked. Nah, no shot, no shot. Right, I was looking for glasses. Okay, let me try, maybe if I just search glasses on my computer, will it come up? Because I really wanted to get into the vibes of my first presentation stream. I think I talked about it in the member stream the other day. I was doing a Zatsu talking about what sort of content I want to do. And I want to do more of these like themed, directed like discussions and conversations. So yeah, you could refresh your stream key, but that's a problem. Yeah, that's a later problem. And also, it's not like this stream has to be on Twitch. It's just more like I was trying to kind of keep up with both in the first week. But it's okay, it's okay. It's better that it runs on YouTube and not Twitch rather than vice versa, because at least the VOD can be saved for anyone that is over on Twitch and wants to catch it. Where the heck? What do you mean no results? Okay, here we go. Okay, is this it? Wait, VTip Studio has glasses? Oh, these are like sunglasses though. I need my bifocals. I guess I can use my heart glasses. Nope, that's not it. Well, yeah, this is gonna take too long. I'd rather just not bother with glasses. It's fine, it's fine. Who needs glasses? Who needs glasses? Me, that's for sure. But I want to jump into the presentation because I'm actually quite proud of this presentation. I totally didn't procrastinate and work on this 2 hours before the stream, and that's why I was like, I totally wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do such a thing, especially in the first week of debut. You'd think I'd be so stupid to to not only be late, but to also be late because I was last minute cramming my project. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. So I hope you're ready because I actually was like really, I mean, the main reason why it even took me so long putting it together anyway is because I wanted to make sure I was citing my sources and double checking my information and my facts and everything, especially going into the history of everything. So actually, before we even get started with this, I have a video that I wanted to promote. It's not my video. I know this never happens. Yeah, that's Chad. But I wanted to encourage you guys to check this out after, if you are interested. I guess, you know, actually, I'll just put it in the description rather than pinning it. But there's a video that a guy did named Gomi-san where they're talking, like, go really in depth about like the history of Yaoi and BL and an analysis of why it's so popular among women, and they cover a lot. So I think if this is a topic that you are like genuinely interested in about and you want to learn more about after my stream, I'll link that in the description for you guys to go through after. But without further ado, let's get into it. So where is it? There we go. Wait, is this it? There we go. Introduction. History. Yes, there's history. Everything has history. The existence of literally everything has to have a history unless it was made tomorrow. What is Yaoi/BL? Yaoi, or BL, is a subset of fiction centered around intimate relationships between two men. This can range from fluffy romance to smutty gay prawn. And it actually, the term Yaoi is an abbreviation or an acronym. Abbreviation? Acronym. Pretty sure abbreviation because it takes the first character from Yamanashi Ochinashi Iminashi to create the term yaoi, which I actually, while I was researching and checking my sources and everything, apparently the term yaoi wasn't even just about like BL, but also like what's it called? Like it was also like if you watch the video, I'll have in the description. He explains it better, but apparently it just came from the mocking of shoujo romance in general, whereas, as you can see, the term yaoi originated around the 1980s as a derogatory term for early fan works of MLM relationships which focus heavily on explicit sexual content rather than the plot. So they're basically saying, everything you read is just porn. Like, there's no porn, there's no point. Like, you guys are just freaks. You guys are just nasty, nasty girls reading porn. That's all it is. There's no value to it. There's no plot. There's no development. There's no characters. There's no world building. There's no nothing. That's all it is. That's basically why the term yaoi or how it was used for the most part in terms of relations to like fujoshis and like the earlier popularization of yaoi as well as shoujo manga, because I believe it's on this next slide where we talk about the history of shoujo. Nope, not yet, but I also want to clarify understanding BL. BL, which is short for boys love. I was actually really, really surprised when I first started talking about this topic on stream because a lot of people didn't know that BL stood for boys love, or like even knew what BL was. But yes, it does stand for boys love, which is pretty much a direct translation of the term shonen ai, which is usually used as like a way to kind of specify that you're talking about like MLM content, but not specifically in like a sexual way, because as you can see here on the slide, yaoi is typically used with a more mature connotation, whereas shonen ai is often stated to specify media that does not feature explicit content. So if you look to the left, so early Gunnar term then, interesting. Exactly. I mean, I need to remember to go slow and take questions before I go on. But as you can see in the Venn diagram on the left, I have an example of a yaoi that I wouldn't classify as a BL because there isn't any love in it, nor actually, I guess Killing Stalking does explore the deeper intricacies of homosexual relationships in its own ways. But I don't know if I would necessarily say it's 100% accurate to categorize it as something that I would say represents BL accurately. I just don't think that if you're talking about BL as a whole and like boys love and like all of these things with it like having to do with relationships between two guys, I don't think, this is just my personal opinion, but I don't think Killing Stalking is a good example. It is a good example of psychological horror. I think it's a really, really interesting story in that retrospect, and I do still have it categorized as yaoi because obviously physically and sexually it is two men being physically intimate, which would technically, obviously, like it's not just not MLM anymore. However, if any of you guys have ever read Killing Stalking, you would know, I don't know if this is really a spoiler. Okay, spoiler warning for Killing Stalking. Unmute me in like 5 seconds. I don't know if this is really a spoiler, but there's a whole thing where it's like Sungwoo is not actually gay and he's only really into Yoonbum because he looks like his mother. So I don't know if I would necessarily say that that's a good representation of BL, of what BL is. But yeah, that's why I have it over there under Yaoi but not BL. And then in the center, we have one of my favorite BL manhwas. It's called Sketch. It's really, really cute. It has a lot of explicit, muted, no, don't you mute me. It has a lot of explicit and like spicy set scenes, but they also have a really, really cute like romantic relationship as well. And then under the strictly BL category, so like shonenai, like it's more, like I said, shonenai is usually used as a term to differentiate between BL content that is or doesn't have sexual content in it. Love is an Illusion Superstar, which follows the son of the initial couple from Love is an Illusion. The creator actually said that they did not have any plans to make any like smut scenes or sexual scenes in this sequel version because of the fact that the main character is like the son from the first one. So everyone kind of looks at him as their own son. Does that make sense? Am I going too fast? I can slow it down. Let me take a sip of water. So, does everybody understand the difference? Or I guess the more nuanced difference, because I couldn't find any actual, like, dictionary documented, what's it called? Like, I couldn't find any actual, like, what's the word? Clearly, by dictionary definition, I guess, notes or whatever. Of the difference between like yaoi and shonen ai, but again, it's more so just how like localized they are and how they're used in like context and nuance. So obviously, just because you say BL doesn't mean it doesn't have sexual content in it, and just because someone says yaoi doesn't mean it always has sexual content in it. But I wanted to talk about that because, like I said, it was really interesting when I was talking about, is she done? I can unmute. Oh, you were unmuting because I was talking about Killing Stalking. Yes, I am done. I am done. I'm so sorry. I should get my little spoiler thingy back for when I'm talking about spoilers. I used to have that on my old computer. Whoa, what is this? Oh. I don't know why that came up. Okay, I don't have like, maybe I have like a warning symbol. What is this? Oh, I forgot my computer. Okay, I'll have to find one. I'll try to avoid talking about spoilers though, because like I said, that's not what the purpose of the stream is supposed to be. But for anyone that did mute and is like coming back to the stream now, the only thing you missed was me talking about the difference between shonen ai and yaoi, and how even though there isn't a lot of like clear-cut documented explanations about like shonen ai being exclusively like fluff without sexual content, or yaoi being like exclusively porn, it really just comes down to how it's used in the community. Because back in my day, and the reason why I came into the VTubing community using the terms BL and shonen ai, and very rarely actually using the term yaoi, is like if you used to say yaoi on the internet, you would get like shot. You would get murdered. Like the BL community hates referring to it as yaoi. I don't know if this is just like a difference. But I don't know if this is like an age thing, or if like people in the VTuber community, because there's just not a lot of overlap with the anime community, which again, very surprising. Just, I don't know, just use terms differently. But yeah, that's just how it used to be. Is like people did not like the term yaoi for that reason, because it's implying that you're only really fucking with it because it's like porn, which again, not all BL is porn, Miss Pomapon. But yes. In this Venn diagram, I've got Killing Stalking under the yaoi category, but not under the BL category, because while it does have intimate physical relations between two men, it does not deeper explore the romantic or emotional relationship between the two. Although there are a lot to having to do with, like I said, like it being a psychological horror and power plays and everything like that. Like there is a lot to the plot of Killing Stalking, and like the more overarching like understanding of the characters and the psychology and development and everything. But for the most part, like I said, Sunwoo, he's not exactly male lead material. I don't know if I would put that on the face of BL at the very least, If you want to loosely categorize it in there for marketing or just like to have it be a part of it, that's one thing. But if you've ever seen people arguing saying, oh, Killing Stalking's not BL, Killing Stalking's not BL, even though it has 2 guys in it, that is primarily the main reason why, because BL is more so supposed to be known for like exploring the romantic aspect of it, and there's no romance between the two. Now, Killing Stalking is not a one and only of its kind. I've definitely read some other psychological horror, not just for yaoi, but just like romance in general, and oh my gosh, you probably also heard the term dark romance, although I think dark romance is a bit different from a psychological horror that just happens to feature, I guess, the topic of romance or the idea of romance, because dark romance, I don't know how to explain it. Again, it's very, very nuanced, but when you're talking about like a psychological horror, like just because a character has romantic feelings, or not even just romantic, like just because a character has desires for another character doesn't automatically mean that that is a romantic relationship, because especially when it comes to the topic of trigger warning, like sexual assault and stuff like that, a lot of the psychology behind sexual assault is more so in like the desire to dominate and acquire power or like overpower, rather than actually being attracted physically or romantically to that person. So a little bit of a tangent on another discussion, but that is why there is a lot of controversy surrounding whether or not Killing Stalking would be categorized as a BL. If you asked me, like I said, I would put it under the yaoi category, but its main genre would definitely be more of a psychological horror. Again, very, very nuanced, but it's important. I guess it's not that important anymore, because like I said, the term yaoi has definitely gotten much more normalized and I guess destigmatized. It's in my time on the internet, because like I said, back when I was like a teenager on Tumblr or whatever, if you use the term yaoi to define just like BL as a whole, people would jump you. They would be like, that's not right, that's a nasty word, they don't even use that in Japan, it's not common. It's like saying like otaku in a way. Like, you know, there are a lot of people that'll be like, oh, calling yourself an otaku, especially if you're an English speaker, if you're not Japanese, is really weird, and it's like not a used term or whatever, blah 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 blah. Again, very nuanced, really just depends on who you ask, so I can't sit here and tell you one way or another is correct or not, but I can make you aware of said controversy so that you guys are a little more understanding if you see it in the future. But yeah, I've only known yaoi as a tag. Exactly. Similar to like other like porn tags. Like a lot of people look at yaoi as like a tag. It's same for words like what's that? Like ebony, for lack of a better word. I think I've talked about this exact comparison before. But obviously, the word ebony, if I'm remembering this correctly, is to refer to black women, but it's also a porn category, which I didn't know. But it kind of shows you how, like, depending on who you ask and who you talk to about it, like, it can have those darker, like, different connotations to it. Wait, okay, ebony, heavy blackish or very dark brown timber from a mainly tropical tree. Okay, maybe I don't know what ebony means at all, actually. What's another term that's like tainted by its usage but doesn't necessarily like inherently have to tie to a sexual connotation? Serena, aren't you supposed to be say so? I am say so. I am educating you guys with information. Yeah, if someone refers to you as ebony, you should run, probably. Exactly. Like, it's a term that's like, how do I explain it? Because the same goes for Yuri as well, by the way. Like, it's just a term that, due to its usage and origin, is just generally more, I guess, tainted. Dojinshi! That's a good example, because dojinshi was another thing that I did not know was heavily known to, like, be referred to in a sexual context. So, another thing that was a bit of a shock going into the VTuber sphere as like a diehard like anime fan, was I would talk about doujinshis or like doujins or whatever other shorthand way there is to refer to it, not realizing that there were people who thought a doujinshi is as being all porn when it's not the case. Like, there are doujinshis of characters, like original characters, or of like anime characters, manga characters that are just purely for the plot. Like, some of them aren't even like romance. Like, it's just fan work. It's just fan-made manga. That is all I had ever known doujinshis as before coming into the VTuber sphere and talking about doujinshis on stream and everyone being like, oh my god, like, you talking about hentai? And I was like, no, I'm talking about doujinshi. So that's another example, I guess, one that you guys would be more likely to know about in the way that yaoi is used, and why, again, people see it as a very mature word, but it doesn't always need to be. What's your number one yaoi ship? Ooh, I don't know. You know what? I actually, because I was rereading it earlier, I wouldn't say this is my number one yaoi ship, actually. Oh, this is difficult. I feel like a lot of times people ask me what my favorite BL is, and I'm always stumped because I'm like a collector. Like, I have a lot over there on that shelf. I like to read a lot, more so with the desire of just having like a lot of BL in my library, and not even just BL, GL as well, and straight romance. But I pick up new plots at like a drop of a hat. Like, I'm very much I want a lot of it and a large variety of it. I'm a collector, exactly. I am a collector of BL and yaoi, and why I talk about it so much, because it's not just oh, I really like enemies to lovers, so I have 5 different enemies to lover manhwas I'm keeping up with. Like, no, I am on everything. I am reading things I don't even want to read because it's popular and I want to keep up with the BL community. Don't ask me about the latest chapter of Jinx. I'm annoyed. But whatever, we're getting a bit sidetracked. My favorite ship? So I'm assuming you mean the ones that aren't canon then, right? Cause yeah, okay, ooh. You're probably not going to believe me, but I actually don't ship characters like that very often. Like, obviously, if I'm watching a romance and there's 2 characters that are like set up to get together, I'll be like, oh my god, I ship them so hard. Like, I think the other night I was watching Oresuki, and I actually really like Joro and Pansy together. I think they're so cute. They match each other's freaks in ways they don't even know. Don't spoil it for me because I'm only on episode 4, I believe. But like, I'm watching it and I'm assuming they're endgame. I don't know, honestly, but like the way, just kind of like paying attention to pattern recognition, you know, from other shoujo and everything. I don't even know if it's a shoujo, actually, just like romance story. Probably it's a shonen. I think it's a shonen romance that yeah, again, like with pattern recognition, I'm assuming that they're gonna be either endgame or like a very like main couple type thing. But I literally, I don't know what it was. I was just like, dang, I ship them so much because of how much they, like, it's hard to explain if you guys haven't seen it. Have any of you guys ever seen an anime called Oresuki? I don't know what the English title is, but it's something like, I'm the only one that you love, right? Let me see. Oresuki anime. Are you the only one who loves me? That's what it's called. When did this come out? Let me see. Nope, have not seen. Ooh, I can't for sure say that I recommend it just yet because I want to complete it first. Need to see an image? Oh, I got you. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, I hope you didn't hear the goo in my nose. I'm still getting over, I think, a cold because I took a COVID test and it was negative, but I don't know. Okay, let me save this real quick. Okay. This is Oresuki. Let me make sure it's, there we go. Yeah, I really ship the guy holding the protagonist sign and the girl with the glasses. I love them so much. I think, especially because like she's like the only one that he can be kind of like his own real honest self with. But you know what? I think it's better if you go in blind, so I'm gonna stop talking about it. But this is the anime I'm talking about. Haven't watched it or read it. That cover does not scream yet. I'm not talking about yaoi right now. I was talking about characters I ship. Okay. Shoot. Okay, my top yaoi ship. This is hard. You know what? Technically, okay. The debate of whether they're canon or not would include spoilers from the manga, but Mikayu from Seraph of the End. I'm gonna get people that disagree with me, and that's fine. But they have so much chemistry. Or Renga from Skate. Although I am of the opinion that Renga is canon. me questions you don't want the answers to. Listen. You gotta understand. Yeah, thank you, Crimson. Thank you for listening. But no, actually, no. I wouldn't say they're my top ship though. I don't know. This is hard. Because like I said, I'm trying to think of ships that aren't canon, and I'm definitely more so, I prefer like reading like original, like dedicated BL and romance shows and anime. So it's, what's a non-BL that I shipped a BL ship in? You know what? I don't think they were technically canon either, because their relationship, it kind of goes beyond like it's a little bit, it's more than a simple case of, oh, they're romantically involved. Like it literally stated, I think either in the anime or in the manga, that their relationship is more than romantic. So I'm gonna say Ash and Eiji from Banana Fish. Ringa is so fucking you get me. Okay, so I'm not the only one, because I remember arguing with people back when it was first airing, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of giving Yuri on Ice a little bit, like, I know they're not engaged, but they might next season. Okay, ship, they're so boyfriends. They are very boyfriends. Banana Fish, they have a lot of really good chemistry there as well, but I'm trying to think of another one. Reki, my love of skateboarding. Like, shut up, bro. Yuri on Ice is canon. Yuri on Ice is canon. Don't even get me started. I will not be arguing with you. Take it up with HR. Hello, I'm HR. I'm like looking around at my posters to see. Yeah, I don't know. Cause like, again, number 6, I wouldn't say they're not canon. If anything, they're like fruitier out of the other examples I've given, especially in the light novel. Oh my gosh. I remember you being a Genshin freak. Anyone from that? Ooh. I mean, the only ship I really cared for in Genshin was Ganyu and Kuching. But that's Yuri. Oh! Nick Brown, how dare you? Koi hi, Siri cute koi. I'ma let it pass since you called me cute. But thank you for continuing your SARMY training of 16 months. 1 pop, 2 pop, 3 pop, 4 pop, 5 pop, 6 pop, 7 pop, 8 pop, 9 pop, 10 pop, 11 pop, 12 pop, 30 pop, 40 pop, 50 pop, 60 pop. I can't count. This is why I was late for class. Oh, I gotta drink some water. There must have been something. Wait, I need to confirm something really quick. You know what? Oh my god, okay, you know what I used to ship so hard back in high school? Watanuki and Domaki from XXXholic. I do remember like reading doujinshis of those two back when I was at school. Hold on. If you don't know what Holic is, it's Studio Clamp, I believe, so the same studio that made Chobits. Wait, I need to find a cover of the two of them. I don't know if any of you guys go there, but if you do, you'll damn! Oh. Is this can't be official. This has to be fan art. Okay, this is the first thing that came up when I searched Holic, Watanuki, and Domaki. Yeah, that's fan art. This is them. This used to be my shit when I was in high school. You have redeemed yourself. Thank you. Oh, what else was it? What else did I ship? Watanuki and Domaki were such shit. You get it. Damn, that is pretty right. Thank you. Have you ever read Viewfinder or Crimson Spell? I actually haven't. I've heard of Viewfinder. Let me see if that's the same thing I'm thinking of. That's an older one, right? Oh. Wait, which one? The manga or the one on Lezen? I think that's after Watanuki becomes the new Yugo. Oh, wait, that's a fish. No way, that's official. There's no way that's official. Wait, my world is exploding. Wait, guys, are they canon? No, hold on, what did I miss? I've never read the manga, so now I'm sus of hell of them. And I thought I was so weird for shipping them as hard as I did. Hold on. This is very important. I'm pausing the slideshow.
Koi height index pointing
my
at the
God.
viewer. Love you. Sari _ Serena Heart.
Thank you. That scared me. I'm not gonna lie. Wait a damn minute. No. Okay. I don't know. You know what though? Mr. AI overview. First of all, I thought I had it disabled. Second of all, I'll be the judge of that. Thank you very much. Okay, so I need to go buy the Holic manga and catch up because now I'm confused. I thought this was fan art. Even if it's not canon, everything could be a headcanon. That is true. You're very right. You're very right about that. Hold on, let me make sure I can see my stream health. Which, oh yeah, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw my tweet about it, but I did manage to fix the issue with my Ethernet cable as well as my my software settings for my graphics and everything. So I should be able to stream Silent Hill F now. So I might switch out the stream for Sunday for that. Well, no, because the stream on Sunday is during the day, and I know you guys want horror during nighttime. So I might make that my Wednesday stream for next week then. But we will be starting that playthrough, and I will be playing it. I got all the settings and everything. I did a test stream with Tech Sensei, and everything looked good. So as long as nothing decides to explode between now and Wednesday, it'll be okay. Silent Hill F, do you scare easily? Yes, I do, but I'm better with horror games that are in third person rather than first person. So I should be okay. And I've also heard that it's not that scary. So I'm hoping that it'll be a good kind of like beginner game. But anyway, let's move on with the presentation. I'm so sorry. I do yap a lot, huh? So, the term fujoshi. The original term fujoshi originates as a pun or a play on the word fujoshi, which is said with the same pronunciation, but with a different kanji to mean a respectable woman, lady, or wife. The version that you guys know and use today, the technically derogatory version, it switches out the kanji. So this kanji, oh, I don't have a pointer, do I? But you can see that kanji on the left for either like fujin or yome. Cozy hi! Make way for the butterfly koi of V4Mirai's 5th generation AURARAIN, here to bubble up your heart with serotonin and sweet serenades. My name's Serina Maiko, charmed, and welcome! You guys are just in time. I just finished an entire tangent. But now that you're here, do you guys think Watanuki and Domoki from Holic or Canada? Welcome, Raiders, welcome. We are talking about why girls like BL and also going into a little bit into the history of it, as well as like the transformation of shoujo romance manga over the years from like the 70s, 80s and everything. So basically just a lot of word vomit for me to say I'm not a freak and I may be perverted, but my heart is pure. City won't be the first to die in Radio FM 189.99 from Sari, the scream as first victim in a thriller plot. Am I having a stroke? Sari won't be the first to die in Radio FM 189.99 from Sari, the scream as first victim in a yeah, I would never die first. That's some weak baby shit. Are you pure? Ride the Nimbus cloud if you can. What is the Nimbus cloud? Is that a cloud form? Oh, from DB. Yeah, it's a type of cloud. Nimbus stratus. What? You don't know Nimbus cloud from Dragon Ball? I only know whatever was on the TV while my brother was growing up, because I do have an older brother. He's like 8 years older than me. And so I used to watch a lot of Dragon Ball, but I don't really remember anything from it. I've just watched a lot. Zoomerfish. Okay, and what about it? You know how old Gen Z is now? Gen Z starts at like 1997. What? How is that an insult? 8 years old, sheesh, age gap. Yeah, my older siblings are a bit distant from me. My oldest sister is 9 years older than me. My older brother is 8 years, and then my older sibling is 2 years. So, I know I'm technically Gen Z. I bet you most of you are Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z, LOL. Okay, moving on. No, I love you guys of all ages. Don't worry, don't worry. But moving on to the origin of the term fujoshi. So as I said, the term fujoshi is a play on the word of a similar sound with different kanji for fujoshi, which just means like it's a complimentary term towards a respectable woman or lady or wife. As you can see, the kanji for kanji in that word comes from either fujin or yome. So you might have heard the term yome. What's an anime with the word yome in it? Yome. I keep thinking Yona of the Dawn for some reason. No. What's the Japanese title for my bride is a mermaid? Yeah, Seto no Hana Yome. Okay, yeah. So you probably, if you watch anime, you've probably heard the term yome before, but I have to remember, I keep forgetting that not all VTuber fans are also anime fans, so I'm so sorry. But yes, the term yome does mean bride, and it instead is replaced with another kanji with the same pronunciation of fu from fuhai, meaning rotten. So that's how you get the term, the derogatory term of fujoshi. They're literally taking this term fujoshi with the kanji meaning, a respectable maiden or lady or woman or wife, and they're changing it into fujoshi, but written in a way that means rotten girl. Notice the mistake. What? Where? Is there a mistake? I did make this presentation like 2 hours before stream. I'm both a VTuber and anime fan. Yay! James Jameson, thank you for continuing your SARMY training of 13 months. 1 POW, 2 POW, 3 POW, 4 POW, 5 POW, 6 POW, 7 POW, 8 POW, 9 POW, 10 POW, 11 POW, 12 POW, 13 POW. Always a big fan of the learning streams. Glad to see my favorite magic harp talk about her interests. Sari love, heart, heart, heart. I feel as though we've already had the discussion that I'm not a magic carp. I am a legally distinct koi fish. Thank you very much. Some anime and VTuber fan is same anime VTuber fan as well. Yay! I'm glad. Past to past. Oh shoot. Where? In the listen. I was rushing. Okay. Don't worry about it. Why are you looking at typos in a paragraph I haven't even read out loud yet? Anyway, fujoshis today, for reasons unknown, BL and the fujoshi community have gone significantly more mainstream and surprisingly well liked despite the shame and stigma that used to surround fujoshis in the past. P-A-S-T. Thank you very much. That was clearly a sentence that I just kind of typed out really fast. But as you can probably tell, the term fujoshi, which originated as a derogatory term to mock women, has since been reclaimed and used commonly by the community. So, like I said, they went from calling you a respectable woman, wife, bride, to a rotten girl for liking BL, or for just honestly just liking shoujo in general. Because like I said, shoujo anime, I think I'm going to talk about it in this next slide. But, nope, not yet. Where's my slide about shoujo? Okay. Then, you know what? This could have been in a different order. This could be in a different order. You know, let's just, we'll come back to that slide. So, I'm gonna talk about the history of BL. Why women popularized, or I guess it should be more of a how women popularized BL media. Shonen Ai gained popularity alongside the transformation of shoujo manga in the 1970s. So, as what I was talking about before was, prior to the 1970s, most shoujo manga were actually written by men, and they were typically belittled and not really taken as seriously because both the men writing them and people perceiving it outside of the community said that it was lacking in nuance and was not as serious and reduced to mostly children's content. So it was pretty much like all shoujo. I mean, yes, the term shoujo does mean young girl, and there is the whole thing where it's like, oh, what about like josei or whatever, but again, more terminology that I would implore you to research in your own time later on. But for the most part, shoujo manga and just like shoujo as a whole was very belittled. It wasn't taken very seriously. A lot of people said that it didn't have like all of these nuanced, deeper, more complex topics like gender oppression, sexuality, politics, whatever. But it was thanks to a notable group of highly influential female mangakas that shoujo manga started to include more complex subjects such as gender oppression, sexuality, politics, etc. And this group was known as the 24 group. The reason why they were called the 24 group is because of something to do with the Japanese calendar, which is different from the calendar that we use, so I forgot. But if you want to look more into that, Again, the video that I'm gonna put in my description after the stream goes, like, it does a really good job explaining all of that, and like, again, like really like just spelling out from start to finish the history of how like shoujo manga was transformed from what it used to be to what it is today. And the manga that they reference and talk about a lot in that video is called The Rose of Versailles, I believe, which was noted to be one of the first shoujo manga with romance between characters portrayed as equals, which goes directly against the stereotypical Cinderella trope because the two characters in the relationship are on equitable playing fields. And the reason why I specified equitable instead of equal is because, as you know, equity is not the same as equality. Equality is when everybody in the playing field is given the same tools to achieve a task without taking their without taking their like disadvantages and like history and everything and like every other, like all the other like, more nuanced backgrounds into account. Whereas equity is when everyone is giving the tools that they need, whether that be more support or like a handicap, to be then more like relatively on equal footing. So for example, if you have someone that's 5'5" and someone that's 5'11", if you were to give them both 5-inch heels, then you'd have someone that's 5'10" and someone that's 6'3". Yes. Whereas if you had someone that's 5'5" and someone that's 5'11", and you gave the person that's 5'5" 6-inch heels, then both of those people are standing at 5 feet 11 inches tall. That is the difference between equality and equity. And again, why The Rose of Versailles was so popular for going against that Cinderella trope of like the damsel in distress and everything. Basically mentioned wear heels. Exactly. No. Because it kind of like it shows you two characters in a relationship of equitable playing field. So you have the main character, Oscar, who is a woman cross-dressing as a man, very open about this. It's like an open secret amongst the characters, but she has a lot of like kind of like really masculine traits and like forms of power. And then you have the guy she ends up with, I believe. I haven't watched or read the manga, so I don't know much about it, but so equity is unequal. Now, equity is a means of equality, but it's not quote unquote true equality, if that makes sense. Or no, I guess it's more equal than equality in this sense, because like I said, The Rose of Versailles is like revolving around a female character with a lot of masculine traits and power placements, and a guy who ends up is like kind of like progressively becoming like more emasculized. So it touches a lot on like toxic masculinity and everything, and it was a very notable piece of fiction and like a very core part to the revolution of shoujo manga having its big transformation. So I believe more on this. Okay, this is a different topic, so I'm gonna bounce back to this one, where a little more of a lighthearted, just like a simple like vocabulary slide, but talking about the types of yaoi. So like any other genre, there are several different forms of media for consumption. As yaoi is a Japanese term, a lot of Western baby fujos start with manga or anime, but there's also a prominent BL community within other East Asian cultures like Korea and China. So over here, you can see in the top left, I have an example of a Japanese manga, which is a Japanese comics. To the right of that, I have a manhwa, I believe. Please correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, because I haven't heard it spoken out loud as much as I've read it. So I believe it's manhwa for Chinese comics. And then in the bottom left is manhwa for Korean comics. And then in the bottom right is danme for like specifically for male-on-male Chinese literature. So this can be like light novels. I'm blanking for whatever reason on every other type of literature, but a lot of the times I see it referred to just like specifically like Chinese like BL light novels, because that is also a really big popular form of media in the BL community. But let me make sure I'm slowing down and looking at the chat. Shoujo as maho shoujo, yes. So shoujo, as you know, actually just means like young girl or like young maiden. Maho shoujo is maho meaning magical, and then shoujo being girl. So maho shoujo literally just translates to magical girl. But when you're talking in the when you're talking in the case of a demographic, so like what this media is catered to, shoujo technically does mean like it's like more targeted towards younger women. It doesn't mean that, or younger girls. It doesn't mean it's only for children, but like that is the target demographic, is younger girls. And then you have josei, which is more so toward like a more mature like older audience and like demographic and target community. So I know I'm saying shoujo, and like I talked about how earlier I was like, oh, a lot of people only saw shoujo as being for kids, which sounds a bit contradictory to the fact that shoujo is literally a demographic of younger girls, but it was more so in the fact that it was being demeaned and mocked as like an only for kids. Like, you know, like another example, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender is TVY7, but it has a large range of people that enjoy it because of the fact that it's able to tackle all of these complex additional like sub topics and subjects and everything, despite being on a despite being rated for people like 7 and up, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit when I talk about like shoujo being belittled as just children's content, it's more so people are saying, oh, it can't be good because it's kids content, and like, or that it's made for kids. Like, I'm sure you get what I mean. I'm doing a whole lot of word vomit. Are danmes very censored? I actually haven't read a lot of danmes. I've only read Heaven Official's Blessing and a little bit Modazushi. So those are like the top popular ones. I don't have a lot of light novels just because I have ADHD and have a hard time reading without pictures. But I believe due to the political climate of China in relation to queer media, I can only assume that it is more censored than Korean or Japanese media. But I cannot in 100% confidence say one way or another. Sari, breathe. I know. I gotta calm down. I get overexcited. Let me drink my water. Okay. But yeah, if you've ever seen terms like manga or manhwa or manhwa or manhwa. Okay, if you've ever seen terms like manga, manhwa, and danme, they're just different forms of BL, but for the most part, or I guess, well, technically manga, manhwa, and manhwa doesn't directly mean that it's gay, unlike danme, but you get the point. Moving on. I got glue in my nose. Wait, I need to blow my nose. Hold on. Where's my DayQuil? No! I'm running out! Whatever. If I take NyQuil, will I survive? You know what? Last time I took NyQuil and it didn't mean... Oh. Oh my gosh, the cat broke. Ew. It's sticky. Ugh. Oh my god. Oh, man. No! Okay, hold on. There's NyQuil all over the cat. It is nasty. Anyway, I'm gonna take some NyQuil. Don't worry, I won't pass out on you. Because like I said, I tried taking NyQuil the night before. Oh, it's broken? No, okay, that's just the way the cap is. I guess I just didn't put it back on properly. But I tried taking NyQuil the other day and it didn't make me sleepy. I don't know why. Let's see. Severe. Is that bad? Why does it say severe? I mean, my symptoms aren't that bad. Am I gonna die? I'm gonna die, aren't I? Okay. Well, you know what they say. Fuck it, we ball. It was in the Bible once, I believe. Now, moving on. Let me... Oh, it's all over my desk. No! How did I not notice this till now? Balls. Anyways, I'm gonna deal with that later. Just get it off my hands for now. Moving on. fetishization. So obviously the topic of fetishization in the fujoshi community is a very controversial yet necessary conversation. I will not sit here and tell you that because of all of these other reasons why women specifically like BL, that means that there aren't women out there that fetishize MLM relationships or like man-on-man relationships. That is definitely something that happens in the community. Like I said, it is a problem. It's like an internal conflict problem. It's a controversial opinion, whatever. Actually, no, it's a controversial topic, but not an opinion. It is very much there. It is very much prevalent and an issue that the community has to work on internally. However, as I said, there are a lot of reasons, or a lot of different reasons for a woman, okay, ignore my typos. There are a lot of different reasons for a woman to be so into BL, and yes, not all of those reasons are ethical or wholesome, but this does not accurately represent the large majority of fujoshis as a whole. I say this not as an excuse for those fujoshis that go out and are problematic and make everybody else look bad. The last thing I want to do is talk about a very a common issue in a community and just dismiss it as, oh, there's bad apples. But I do want to stress the importance of understanding that like any other community, it is not just all one homogenous hive mind of people that all think one way and act the same way. I'll go a bit more into the diversity of the BL community itself in a later slide. But I definitely wanted to talk about the topic of fetishization because if I didn't, I felt like I would have been kind of like glossing over a really important thing to talk about. So there are straight fujoshis as well as queer fujoshis, straight fudanshis, vice versa, and everything in between. Liking BL or having a preference for BL over straight media and or GL, which is girls love, is not inherently fetishization. It's more nuanced than that. And when I say that, if you only like BL because you want to see guys fucking, if you can explore that deeper and come to a conclusion, which there are a lot of different conclusions for why you may enjoy that, and come to a conclusion for why that may be, that is other than, oh, well, I don't know, I just see them as objects and want to use it for sexual gratification, then that's, I can't save you. But if you do have a different reason, then like I said, there is a whole bunch of reasons, both psychologically, historically, and whatever other terms I can refer to for why women are so into BL. And I think I'm gonna go a bit more into it in this slide, yes. So these are just a few of the ideas that I was able to jot down and fit in this space. But before I move into some of the reasons that I either personally like BL, or reasons I have observed of other people in the community for why, or other women specifically in the community of why they like BL, do we have any questions so far? It's brotherhood in prison. What? Hi, and hello, Miss Serina Maiko, Butterfly Koi, Princess Mermaid Queen. How goes your koi night so far, and how was your Thanksgiving? Oh, okay, Thanksgiving was really stressful because I was cooking, but my night's going really well, actually. I do wish that I had done this presentation a little bit earlier, but as I said on Twitter, I had a tech meeting with Tech Sensei to figure out what was going on with my computer and how to more so optimize my graphics card, because when I was talking about it with the other girls and everyone, my graphics card's not the best, but there are definitely people that have a worser graphics card for me that are able to perform better than I was. And I don't know what was going on with my Ethernet specifically, but whenever I would try to stream or really do anything on my Ethernet, it would just die. And I was running an internet speed test on my Ethernet and it was 0.2% for the upload speed. Don't know how that happened. Tech Sensei and my older sibling thought that it could be that the provider was nerfing me, suppressing me. What's the word? I don't remember the word. Throttling me. They thought they were throttling me, but thankfully it was just a setting I had to change in my computer. I also switched my GeForce to game mode instead of studio mode, so it should run a bit better as well. I guess we'll get to test it out with the rhythm game I have planned for Sunday. Although I might switch it to the Silent Hill F, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Because like I said, I really want to start that playthrough, and especially if I'm starting it earlier in the day. Regardless of whether it's dark out or not, which it really won't be, because I broke my blinds before starting the stream. Literally an hour before stream, I went to close the blinds, and the entire thing just fell off. So I'll have to deal with that, but it's okay. It's okay. How? I was trying to close it, so I went to pull on the thingy, and it just all came crashing down right on my piano, and I was just like, okay, that happened. But that's fine. It's not what this stream is about. So, why? The question we've been asking ourselves this entire hour, apparently. Why? Why do girls specifically like BL? Well, for one, it allows you to remove yourself from the narrative. So what I mean from that is, for women who don't wish to be perceived or self-insert into a story, reading stories with little to no female characters takes that element away. Girth Demon, thank you so much for the one. I appreciate you. It allows you to perceive a story and like perceive the things that you want to read with like romance or drama or slice of life, whatever it is, without having to like self-consciously self-insert. So like if you have like a prominent female character, regardless of whether you want to or not, if you're able to control it, that's great for you, but most people aren't. You are going to see yourself in her in some way, especially when she starts talking about like, or if she starts talking about like misogyny and everything, and just like more specific, like just like female issues. So that is one of the reasons why girls really like BL. Another one is to escape from reality. So this is a similar one to like not wanting to be perceived, but when you're reading about women as a woman, you either have to face the topic of misogyny or pretend that it doesn't exist. There really is no way to kind of like, it's kind of a lose-lose there, because if you, again, like you want to escape the reality of misogyny and the patriarchy and like read like romance and everything without having to just think about the way that society views women, you are either going to have to face the topic of misogyny, just like right in the face, like especially if it's really prominent in the story, or you have to then gaslight yourself into believing that misogyny does not exist in this universe, which is harder to do when there are women, unless it's the case of like, I almost made a horrible comparison. I almost said, unless it's like Girls Bravo, where they have that planet that's all women, and then I realized there ain't shit that is progressive about Girls Bravo for misogyny. If anything, Girls Bravo probably set us back, but you know what? That's a topic for another day. The slide hits the nail on the head so hard. Thank you. I was trying to. And for those of you who are here, if for any non-men in the chat that read BL or really like it or have a newfound interest in it, please feel free to tell me your thoughts on it. I do have a slide at the end for just discussion. But what I was trying to get into is, again, if you want to read about women and you have like the issue of misogyny, you either face it or you have to then pretend like it's not there. Either way, you're thinking about it, except for when there aren't any women in the equation and it's just men, because there's like a whole thing, like you can see it a little bit in my point about challenging the patriarchy, but like seeing the way that toxic masculinity and the patriarchy works against men as well. Like I'm not saying that men are entirely not victims, I guess, of misogyny and the patriarchy and everything. Like it affects everybody. But the next point is the female gaze. So this is a big one, especially for like the more, I guess like fluffier media, or not even just fluffier, because it's like, it's fluffier in a way that's more, okay, let me just read what it says first and then I'll go more into depth. But the female gaze. Since BL is a genre that's heavily or predominantly created by women for women, and has a deeper emphasis on the more feminine or delicate elements of romance like pacing, psychology, character development, etc. What I mean by that is, if you ask an anime fan if they prefer shonen or shoujo, for one, they're gonna think you're talking about action adventure versus romance. But if you're talking strictly in terms of the demographic, do you like anime that's catered more towards women or men, they're gonna go into a deeper, hopefully they would go into a deeper, more complex, nuanced explanation of what specifically separates something as being more catered to women versus catered to men. Obviously, if it's a demographic, there's gonna be just straight up marketing. Like there's like shoujo manga, there's shoujo magazines, there's shonen magazines. If it's in a shoujo magazine, if it's like explicitly just says for girls, like type shit, like obviously then that's how you know it's like shoujo or whatever. But for the most part, if you had to explain the difference between how to market towards women, how to market more towards men. Again, marketing towards men, it's a very nuanced and complicated, not at all one size fits all way of going about it. So I want to be very particular with how I word this, but it just has different areas of focus. So you can have romance anime that's more catered to men, and romance anime that's more catered to women. Romance anime that's more catered to men, in my experience, definitely has a bit of a rougher, like more blunt approach. It honestly feels a bit more realistic to what romance is like in like the natural world, whereas romance catered to women is a bit more like whimsical, like fantasy, like I guess like it's a bit more dramatic, exaggerated in a good way. And I say that because that doesn't mean that there isn't romance. Like that doesn't mean that I say this because it doesn't mean that there isn't a way of catering like that dramatic, like fluffy, like rose tinted glasses version of romance to men, and vice versa. You can have blunt, rough, like realistic romance be catered to women the same way that you can have that fluffy rose tinted glasses romance be catered to men. It really just kind of comes down to the material itself, the author's target audience, and the way that it is marketed. But the reason why I bring up its importance in relation to the topic of why girls like BL is because, as I said, a large majority of BL is made by women for women. So it caters a lot to what women find attractive in a romance story. Like it may have a slower pacing. Like sometimes like stuff for the male gaze or like the more general gaze moves too fast or too slow. Like it really isn't as simple as like a black and white, oh, this is what girls like, this is what boys like. It's like a collection of tropes and elements that make it just align more with a feminine perspective versus a masculine perspective. So it's a very interesting conversation that I wish I had the intelligence to word and navigate properly, but I hope that I am making the slightest bit of sense. That Heaven Official's Blessing anime from Netflix was a BL anime. I didn't even realize it was BL till it was halfway through, and I did realize the MC kept sitting in a dude's lap in the intro. Bara and BL is more geared towards actual gay men. Indeed. Bara is one of those subgenres of BL that is very much more popular with gay men than it is with women. Because again, when you look at the more like standard, I guess, like cliche trope of BL, it's a lot like more like softer, more delicate, like more feminine, just like in its like all around presentation than how an MLM relationship might be IRL, which again doesn't mean that it can't be like that IRL or that it can't be the opposite in fiction. But I hope I'm making sense. I feel like I'm not making any sense. It makes sense in my head, but I don't know how to like verbalize it. Reading men falling in love with each other made me feel more safe. That's an interesting perspective. I started reading BL and Yaoi because I was LGBTQAPN plus teen and the representation was so good. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, there is, I believe I have it in the following slide in terms of just talking about like queer media in general. But I want to go through a bit more of the comments. There's also the lovely bonus of if you have body dysmorphia in any form, your feminine body is also removed from the narrative, so you're able to enjoy it more. That as well. You're not, like I said, you're not self-inserting, you're not comparing yourself to the main character. Like you can, as a woman, you're reading BL, and there probably are, like, there definitely are people that are like inserting themselves either into the uke or the seme, which if you don't know, the uke is the bottom, the seme is the top for BL verbiage, or they look at it as like a form of gender envy in various different ways, which I was going to talk about gender envy in a later slide, but I just want to touch on it a little bit. And then, but there's also people who, like I said, just want to be like a fly on the wall and witness the romance without having to feel as though they're a part of the romance. Because it's something I've talked about before when I am reading stuff that features women. And it's not that by the way, I should probably specify, I read all romance. I definitely lean much more towards BL because I just personally don't like self-inserting, whether it's subconsciously or intentionally. It makes me just too, I guess, it just makes me too self-conscious really to get like super into the story, because like I said before, I'm a collector with BL, so I'll read BL that I don't even like to keep up with the community, but I'll also read like a really wide, like large range of genres and like variety of tropes. So like I can read the most like wholesome, cutesy, like tooth-rotting, fluffy shonen ai, but then I can also read like the scariest, well, probably not the scariest, but like scary, toxic, psychological horror yaoi. Like, I will read like on any spectrum of that if it's interesting and holds my attention, because like I said, since I'm not projecting myself into the universe or self-inserting myself into any of the characters, I'm able to more comfortably navigate a larger variety of genres and tropes and situations, because I don't have to worry about, oh, I mean, obviously I still have my morals. Like, I can still look at something and say that's wrong, even if I'm not able to project myself onto the character. But it does kind of help put up a wall between me and allowing the material to affect me more than I am comfortable with allowing it to affect me. Does that make sense? Can you imagine that you're a guy so that you still self-insert? That is true, but I've never really had any instances of questioning my sexual or my gender identity, if that's the question you're asking. But yeah, I suppose you could. You could project yourself onto the character, as well as, like I said, like with the whole topic of gender envy. I just personally haven't had, well, actually, no, I'm sure I have subconsciously projected myself onto like the main character, just because regardless of gender, like when you're perceiving the story through the perspective of the main character, you're going to find yourself relating to that character or just being more conscious of them because of the fact that they're the predominant constant from start to finish, you know? Guess this also applies when you're creating an OC. Ooh. I suppose it could, actually, yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people do use their OCs as a form of like expression, like self-expression and projection. So if you are creating an OC that's really, really similar to you because you want to self-insert and like imagine yourself in these different scenarios and like relate to a character that's very similar to you, then you could do that. Or vice versa, if you were to create an OC that is like everything of the opposite of you. So for me, like since I'm a woman, the opposite of me would be like a man. Then what's it called? What was I gonna say? Then creating an OC that is like very, very different to you in like opposite, like contrast. Is that the word? Contrast. Contradicts. I guess goes against you, not against you, but you know what I mean, would also be a form of expression and like putting up boundaries. But I want to get through the other 2 points, because the other one is the perception of women, where by having the main character or the self-insert character be a man, it holds a mirror to the men who write or used to write perceive shoujo to be all the same Cinderella cliche, and better demonstrates why the trope can be stereotypical and push misogynistic gender norms. What I mean by that is there was a lot to the discussion of like another reason why BL is so popular or got so popular and why women like it is because it helps them explain to men why those initial tropes and the reason why like early shoujo, like back before the 1970s, was always ridiculed and not taken seriously or seen to have been as nuanced or complex as like manga that wasn't created for boys or for men. It kind of helps them, it kind of helps like explain our, sorry, Brie, I'm sorry, you know I talk a lot. Okay, let me drink my water. I want to make sure that I'm wording everything the way that I want to word it. Because like I said, it is a very nuanced, complex, multi-layered, multifaceted. Oh my God, wait, what does multifaceted mean? Did I just use the word multifaceted? Oh my God, wait. Having many facets. Fuck you, what's a facet? Yeah, multifaceted discussion. It's because you're not talking a lot. It's too fast, LMAO. Okay. I will slow down. But like I said, I do talk really fast. But as I was saying, in terms of why having those tropes, because like I said, like BL got really popular in the transformation of shoujo manga. That doesn't mean that BL doesn't have those tropes of why shoujo manga was so heavily criticized by men back in the day. So that's why having that like Cinderella cliche or that like the damsel in distress trope be portrayed on another man helps explain to men, or I guess helps visualize to men, how that portrayal is stereotypical and push misogynistic gender norms. That doesn't mean to say that every case of the Cinderella trope or the damsel in distress trope is inherently misogynistic, because like I said, I think it's significantly more nuanced and complex than that. But it does kind of, once again, like I said, just help reimagining does, like I said, like holds a mirror to the guys that are like that do have those negative views of shoujo or think that all shoujo is one way or another. But anyway, the last thing I have on here, or on the slide at least, is it challenged the patriarchy. So in a similar vein, it also allows for women to perceive men in a softer, more delicate way, which goes against the standard for toxic masculinity. So for a lot of those shoujos that used to be written by men, they would usually have like the ugly, plain, weak girl as the main character, and then this like super like Prince Charming, ikemen style guy that falls in love with her despite all of her quote-unquote flaws and is always there to save her in her moments of distress. It allows for not just kind of like dismantling that, like, I guess, like toxic masculine view of what a man should be. It also allows for like men to be perceived in media in a positive way, to be more delicate and soft and more in touch with their emotions. So basically what I'm trying to say is yaoi is gonna end sexism. Take a water break. Is it that bad? I feel like I'm consciously trying to talk slower. Okay, I'll drink water. In literal terms, it's the layers of the internal structure of gems. It's better now. I'm trying! It's too early for these big words, bro. I'm sorry. Okay, let me slow it down. We'll move on. There's a lot of words on this slide. Anyway, even more. Yaoi's saving us from misogyny. Let's go. Yaoi's gonna end all of the isms and phobias. Just watch. So, I touched on this a little bit in my earlier slide, but another reason why girls can get really, really into BL is because of gender envy. So not just in the situation of wanting to be a man specifically, but more so in that desire of having a dominant position in society. So we could talk a little bit about like intersectionality and everything like that, but for the most part, sorry, let me think. It's not that bad, but it's been a water since you rehydrated, dear. Oh, been a while. Oops. Okay. Passionate fire needs water to calm it. You're right, guy. You're so right. Let me drink more water. So yes, when I refer to gender envy, maybe you want to have a lightsaber and thrust it into an uke hole. I'm not here to yuck your yum, but there is also the perception, or I guess the way of looking at it in terms of gender envy, and more so in the envy of having a dominant position in society. So regardless of your race or your sexuality, gender is another thing that will get you oppressed in society. So if you're a woman and you want to kind of project yourself onto a male character in BL, you can also do that. Whether it's as an uke, which would again be another multifaceted, let me stop. I've used multifaceted exactly once for the first time today, and now it's like the only word that's coming to mind whenever I want to say something has layers. Breathe in water, breathe out lore. You're so right. Okay, more water. I still have a lot of goo in my nose, so it's hard to drink water because I can't breathe through my nose. I think that's why I'm talking so fast, actually, because I feel like if I stop talking, you're just gonna hear me like just like huffing and puffing, but whatever. Hold on, let me blow my nose again. Okay. I think I'm better. You know what, actually, I'm gonna pinch my nostrils and I'm gonna nod my head up and down. That almost always helps with the boogies. So and then side to side. Okay. Oh, that's much better. Okay. Multifaceted is a pretty common term, to be fair. That's true. I've definitely heard it. I've just never used it. And like, I knew what it was from context clues, but it wasn't like, it's not a word that's common in my vocabulary, if that makes sense, but I definitely know what it means. But anyway, another reason, sexual gratification, which I touched on this earlier, but definitely one of the more controversial reasons. I do not have the authority to tell gay men what does or doesn't make them uncomfortable. But I can tell you that if your only reason for enjoying BL is sexual gratification and nothing else, that is definitely more controversial, but one of the reasons, but one nonetheless for women who are attracted to men and want to double the fun. And then lastly, I have queer representation. So some fujoshis who are in the LGBT plus community just enjoy reading queer media for the female gaze. This includes Yuri, more catered to the hime joshis. So if you don't know what a hime joshi is, it's basically just a girl that likes Yuri or GL. So similar to how fujoshi has like the fu part for rotten and then joshi. Hime joshi, I believe the kanji is the same as it is for princess, but let me double check actually. Look at Yuri otaku, Yuri joshi. Hime, yeah, meaning princess, and joshi meaning girl. Origin, the term is believed to have emerged from Japanese fandom spaces, possibly following a 2011 viral tweet that contrasted the term fujoshi and hime danshi. Oh, okay. So so hime danshi, if you can tell, is a guy that's really into GL or Yuri. So it looks like hime joshi came to be by splicing together the prefix of hime from hime danshi and adding the suffix of joshi, meaning woman, and also just from fujoshi, and you get hime joshi. But more on that another time. Never heard hime joshi before. I will say the yaoi and yuri community, I don't know why there's so much fighting, because they're literally cousins, but what do I know? But yeah. Internal conflict. Speaking of, like any community, all fujos are different, so avoid overgeneralization. What I mean by that, you guys, raise your hand if anyone has ever heard the term trad joshi and or woke joshi. Okay, Morgo does. Morgo knows. Because when I tell you the fujoshi community is not a homogenous hive mind, I mean that shit. So a trad joshi is basically, it's like a traditional fujoshi, or if you've ever heard of like a trad wife, it's like someone that kind of let me just get the dictionary definition for this. I'm not touching this. Trad wife, a woman who embraces the traditional wife lifestyle, this is AI overview. Is a member of internet subculture. What? Okay, the term trad wife is a how do I pronounce this word? I know this word. I've used this word before.
Portmanteau.
Jesus fucking Christ, that was so loud. Portmanteau of the words traditional and wife. The term emerged within the early 2020s to describe creators like Nara. So what are we talking about? Okay, let's try Merriam-Webster. Trad wife is a married woman who embraces traditional gender roles and values. Okay, so yeah, trad joshis, as you may have been able to put together, they're basically like the fujoshis that are more into the, like, I guess more like stereotypical cliche tropes of BL. So like the tall, beefy seme and like the short, more feminine looking uke. That's some stuff. Examples of like trad joshis having, I don't want to say having issues, because I don't think I would never classify myself as one or the other, but an example, I guess, like a what's it called, like a scenario, the topic of switching in BL, which is where either the seme bottoms or the uke tops, is actually very controversial in the fujoshi community, and that's why in the manga for Love Stage there is a warning. Also, I guess slight spoiler alert, but there is a warning at the beginning, or more like a disclaimer at the beginning of the chapter when Izumi tops Ryoma for the one and only time, that they were going to be switching, because it's that controversial and people are so against it. I've been called a woke joshi. Yeah, as you could probably tell, I'm not very fond of the title that they've claimed for themselves. But woke joshis is the term that just kind of came to be to describe fujoshis that are more into kind of like going against the stereotypes and cliches for BL and like being a bit more adventurous, exploring or whatever. So I guess if I had to think of an example of a trad joshi story or something that trad joshis would like versus woke joshis, what's one? what's that red thread quest? That's a good one, because that's in it. Trad Joshis typically don't really like strong beefy bottoms, and in red thread quest the uke is like on the beefier side. Also, like, people might not like taller ukes, things like that. That's some stuff that would cause people to argue from trad joshis versus woke joshis. It's honestly quite stupid to argue about, but you know what? There you go. If you've never heard of it before, that's that. There's also, like I said, the topic of fetishizers and homophobia within the community. You would be surprised how many quote-unquote fujoshis are either overtly homophobic or like have a lot of internalized homophobia that they're not aware of. And then as well, also the fetishizers, like there is that. And then there's the shoujo demographic versus the josei demographic. I talked about this a bit earlier, but shoujo just means like a younger female audience, whereas josei would mean like an older female audience. So I think it's I think it's actually very normal and expected that those communities would be separate amongst themselves, because like, if you were to say something like, oh my god, all fujoshis are like 13-year-old girls, like, you'd be wrong. But if you were to also say all fujoshis are older women, you would be wrong. It is different. There's different communities. There's layers to this shit, you know? Then there's also the experience of straight fujoshis versus queer fujoshis, which a whole other thing we could talk about in our discussion later, which I keep saying discussion, but I'm already at like less than 30 minutes. So, and then you also have the straight fudanshis versus queer fudanshis, which is a similar thing, which if you remember, fudanshi is the male equivalent to the term fujoshi. So it's a guy that's really, really into BL. There are stories, either BL or non-BL, about fudanshis. Not all fudanshis are attracted to men, same way that not all fujoshis are attracted to men, and vice versa. I guess, vice versa? Yes. So you can have queer fujoshis and straight fudanshis. Like, you don't need to be attracted to men to like BL. And then there's also the whole like debate of like wholesome BL versus toxic BL. Again, I'm very much also, I guess this ties a bit into the pro shipper thing you see at the bottom. I don't even want to touch that. Because I'm not trying to get, oh my god, I almost said hanged. No, oh my god. But I guess on the topic of wholesome BL versus toxic yaoi, my only stance is no stance. You know, I read what I like. I'm not going to judge you for reading what you like. If it is excessively problematic, I'm going to avoid it. But ultimately, I cannot police what people do when it comes to fictional romance. However, I do have my thresholds. I do have my exceptions. Obviously, it's not as simple or black and white to be like, oh, whatever. Like I said, I'm not even gonna touch it. But yeah, this is just a handful of the ways that the community is kind of split up within itself, and why, again, it is so important to be, not even just be educated, but to just not assume and overgeneralize. And then I believe there is one more. Okay, so this is the I forgot I used that picture. This is the page for discussion presented by Serina Maiko. Thank you. I don't have my applause sound effect, but thank you so much for watching my presentation. This is the part of the stream where we just kind of talk. I'll answer questions to the best of my ability. And if you have anything that you wanted to share on the topic, I would love to hear some viewer feedback. So, thank you. Oh my God, you shouldn't have. Also, I hope you liked this like presentation style stream. This is what I meant, by the way, when I said I wanted to do more themed discussion, which was like having like notes and like actual like facts versus opinions and stuff to talk about, and like just wanting to get people talking, you know, and also talking about things in a way that is very like welcoming and inclusive to people who don't know that much about the subject, or like are very uneducated about the subject. I hope I did a good job. I was so nervous. I haven't done a presentation in for so long. So I got a bit ahead of myself, and I talked a lot, but I'll only get better. So if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. If you have any questions, concerns, or just facts about yourself, or like opinions, anything you'd like to share, this is the time to do so. So let's see what you got. low-key, I think that there's different romance genres for a reason. There's certain things you can explore between two men that are different from between two women or a man and a woman. Exactly. Same for GL, same for straight romance. Like, there is just different plot devices and like atmospheres and like it's just different, for lack of a better word. And that doesn't mean that elements of BL are impossible to have in elements of a straight romance or GL or vice versa. But it does mean that in terms of like the large majority, I don't even want to say the large majority because I haven't read every BL out there. If I haven't read every BL out there, I cannot sit here and say, oh, the large majority is blah, blah, blah. But like I said, it's a very nuanced, complex, like layered discussion, which is why I wanted to talk about it. What was your first BL? I feel like you're only asking me this because you know the answer. Well, my my first BL was actually my first introduction to social media back when I was 13 years old, freshly 13, because I wasn't allowed to have social media until I turned 13. I made a Tumblr account, and the very first community that I stumbled into was the Dramatical Murder community. And if anyone here knows what Dramatical Murder is, I'm sorry. I really just said, does anyone know Yaoi Jesus? But you know what? Oh my God, as you should. Yeah, that was my introduction to the internet, was not only Tumblr, but Dramatical Murder Tumblr specifically. So I didn't even play the game the first time. I watched YouTube videos of no commentary playthroughs. And then later in life bought the game. Oh yeah, we didn't even scrape the visual novels. I completely forgot to put in visual novels. I guess I could have done that instead of danme, since I already had like Chinese, like the manhuas in there. But yeah, like I said, including but not limited to, not starting in the deep. No, literally, I was getting everything. I was hit with everything from the jump, everything good, everything bad, from BL as like in Yaoi as well as the Yaoi community. But you know what? Yes, that was my introduction to BL, was Dramatical Murder, and I think immediately after that was when I got like into. I don't remember if I got into Sekaiichi Hatsukoi first or Ginger Romantica. I think... Like, I know Ginger Romantica came first. When did Sekaiichi Hatsukoi come out? I mean, definitely before... Oh. Main anime series premiered in 2011. Okay, so that would have been... I don't know. But I think immediately after Dramatical Murder, I went into that era, which was a lot of people's first BL. If not, it might have been Love Stage. Dang it. What was my first BL after that? You know what? I actually think I went more into shipping before I went into original stories. So I did have that short period. Remember I talked about earlier how I used to really, really ship Watanuki and Domeki. That was definitely early on. So it might have been more so with that. I was also really into D. Gray Man. So wait. Hold on. Before I out myself here. I don't want to say who has shipped from D. Gray Man because I have no idea how old they were. I don't know how old they were, but I was in middle school. Wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, Alan was 15. I do that. Ah! Oh, never mind. I'm not telling you. I'm not setting myself up. But I did have my yaoi ships in D. Gray Man, I fear. The clamp cannon, let's go! D. Gray Man mentioned. Yeah, I used to freaking love D. Gray Man. I literally have a poster of Alan right above my computer. But what else was there? Yes, we started with Dramatical Murder. Then don't you do that! Get your ellipses out of here! I've done nothing wrong! Man, most anime characters are teens, so whatever. No, it's not whatever. They're gonna get me, bro. Sasaki and Miyano, my beloved. I don't remember my into to BL to be honest. You know what's interesting? I actually read a manga called Ryuta to Kodama before I read. Actually, no, I think I watched the anime before reading. No. No, I read Dakaichi before it got animated. That was crazy. That was crazy. But for Sasaki and Miyano, I remember reading a manga called Ryuta and Kodama, which I, for some reason, thought it was really, really similar, but I've recently rewatched it. First of all, when I read that manga, I thought they were in college because I was in high school and I was, oh! Okay, everything just got really big all of a sudden. But I was in high school and they were in dorms, so I immediately assumed, yes, college. I know you told me to read it, they aren't the same. They are not the same, but I did think that they were similar in terms of atmosphere. And also because like Sasaki and Ryuta are both supposed to be like delinquents, although I definitely got way more delinquent vibes from Ryuta than I did Sasaki. I really don't get delinquent vibes from Sasaki. I think it's just because he has bleached hair. My first Yuri ship was Sakura and Tomoyo from Cardcaptor Sakura, and they were 10, so yeah. Aw, well, that's wholesome though. I think my first like Yuri ship, probably, I forgot, what was their names from Madoka Magica? Magica, whatever. What was her name? I think it was Saki. Hold on. Let me see. Magi, Madoka, Magica characters. Sayaka Miki and Kyoko Sakura. I used to ship them when I was a lot younger. I thought they were cute. Enemies to lovers. I've been on this grind since middle school. We knew this. I think it's hilarious. My sister watched Gravitation and I gave it to the side eye, then immediately watched and read Juju Romantica and Crimson Spy. See what happens? See what happens? Base, thank you. Thank you. You see, I do have taste. You guys were shaming me. But, actually, you know, I'm pretty sure I watched Shugo Kyara before I watched Madoka Magica, but I did watch that. I watched both of them in middle school for the first time. Did I ship anyone from Shugo Kyara? I don't think, Who was the girl with the ponytail? I think I used to ship her in the, oh no, I'm thinking of Tokyo Mew Mew. I used to ship Pudding in the purple hair girl when I was younger. I forgot her name. As well as Mint and the main Ichigo. DK, hi! I kneel Yaoi sensei. Oh, how convenient you're on your knees. Let me drink some water. Shoot, it's already almost 10. Okay, well, SARMY. Oh yeah, DK, what was your first yaoi? Tell us. We're here discussing. So you've missed the presentation, but that's okay. You'll be able to go back in the VOD after the stream is over. And actually, let me go ahead and add that guy's stream that I wanted to link for that was talking that did like the deep analysis into the history of BL and like the transformation of shonen over the 70s and everything, because he did a significantly better job at explaining it than I did. Did I close the tab? No, I didn't. Okay. Oh, check out this video for more on the history of BL. So yeah, when you watch the video, you'll see there were a lot of at least more so in like when it comes to the history and everything, and like the rows of Veili. I already forgot what the anime was called, but yeah, they talked a lot about it, which I thought was very interesting, and I actually learned some stuff that I didn't know from that video. But I didn't want to talk too much about the like the history specifically, and I wanted to go more so into my perception of why I like BL, and like obviously like I mean, and I'm not even just for myself. Like I know there are other girls like fujoshis that make the jokes of like, oh, like plap plap, get him pregnant. It's all about empreg, all about empreg. It's all about sex. Fuck him. But it really is deeper than that. I don't just read BL because it has mature smut or anything in it. Like, obviously, I read a range of, like, wholesome shonen ai without any smut in it to the most deranged shit probably known to man. But I'm not really getting sexual gratification out of it. It's more so for the reasons that I talked about earlier in the stream. So if you're a VOD watcher, first of all, hello. Second of all, I hope that I did a good job at explaining everything. And as I said, all of the reasons that I listed, it's more of an including but not limited to. It's a community. At the end of the day, I can't sit here and be like, oh, here's every reason that women like BL. Like, everyone has their own reasons and like backstories and I almost said traits, like that. You did a good job, Sarah. Thank you. I'm glad. But SARMY, It's been an honor spending time with you today, but unfortunately, this fish has to go rehydrate, so it's time I bid you adieu. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more from me, not as sashimi, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye-bye!